Right, you guys are rotating into Skyhook late. I would have liked to see a little bit more scouting here because you're going through zone with a portal, meaning that it's a very difficult position to disengage from if there's teams already gatekeeping this. Now, luckily there aren't, right? But that is definitely something that I want to keep an eye on if I have the zone in my back. If you're, this is something we've talked about a lot. In high tier lobbies, when it comes to rotating from ahead of zone, you always want to be either the first team that rotates and gets into a gatekeep position, has a powerful position, or you want to be the last team that comes in because you don't want to get sandwiched. In this situation, you guys were the last team, but being the last team means that you usually don't have an opportunity to disengage, and so pathing is very important. We saw you guys going underneath the bridge, we saw you guys hanging under the rocks for a little bit, and so that's a good example of safe pathing. Then if you go into Skyhook that you haven't scouted yet, you're no longer pathing safe, because you have no idea about the environment. So that's really the kind of situation where you want to re-scout a little bit, go grapple to that high ground, and have a look at your surroundings and then figure out what your next rotation is going to be. Yeah, there's aim assist on every gun. Alright, so you have one team. You have one team camping, what I believe is this building over here, then you guys are holding this building. Both buildings are not in zone, and if you're gonna want to rotate out of here, you cannot rotate via the backside, because this is what we were talking about before. You've locked yourself in with the zone. So this is a position where there's not a lot of teams around, because you went through the zone to get here, but it also means that you're gonna have to go, can you see this with my cam? You can. You're gonna have to go past this team to get out into the new zone. So that's something that you want to be thinking about right now while you still have time. This next zone is going to hurt a lot. You do not want to get stuck in it. You do have a Wraith, so you probably want to play around that portal, but you definitely want to think very hard about your rotation here, because if this team decides to gatekeep you, if they decide to gatekeep you right here, then you really have to hope that they become, that they get engaged upon by another team. If not, it might be very difficult for you to get out of this position, because this is a difficult area to traverse if they're gatekeeping you. Also, the Watson ultimate here against that one team, if she had an ultimate accelerant, it's fine, but otherwise that's a bit of a waste, something that I would save for the next circle, because you're going to be here at most for a minute, and then you have to move out, you're not in zone, so the likelihood of getting value out of this is very small. You're not being attacked. You could literally drop that the moment you're being attacked. Right, so you guys did use a portal for the rotation, and you rotated before the zone started moving. That's very good. But that Watson ultimate was a waste if you know you're about to rotate out and you're not being attacked. So why would you use that Watson ultimate if you could have that a second from now, when there's 5 to 4 squads left in this last fight, or maybe not last fight, but in these later circles, it would be very useful to have. Right, so now you have changed the position between the enemy team and you guys are able to gatekeep this team now if you want to. So you can either set up a defensible position for this final circle, or you can gatekeep this last team. But I'd probably want to gatekeep them now that we're in top 5. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to full commit on them, don't get me wrong. If you don't have a super powerful position to gatekeep them from, in a lobby like this, you obviously don't want to get third-partied, and they might just have a portal as well that they can rotate with. So again, just like before, it's totally fine to try and gatekeep them, see if you can maybe get 1 or 2 knocks. That's 3 points already with an 8 to Thirst or something like that, and then let the others go. That's totally fine, but 3 points are 3 points, and you should take them. They need to push that team? No, they don't need to push it. They should gatekeep it, not push it. When you're in top 5 in a small circle like this, if you are the first to push a team in a lobby like this, you're going to get third-partied very hard. And on top of that, you're already on 1 kill, 1 assist point. You can get at most 3 more kill points. 3 kill points is 1 team, and 1 team you're likely to kill if you win the game, right? Which should be a goal, because that's the maximum amount of points. So you should never take risks for kill points if the kill points aren't very valuable. In this situation, the kill points aren't that valuable, but if you get free kills, you should take them. So you should gatekeep to see if you can get free kills while they rotate, but if you can't, then that's absolutely fine. On top of that, of course, if you can full kill that team, then that just brings you to a better placement, which gives you way more points overall. Right, so you guys do have a somewhat defensible position. You don't have a lot of visibility over this other team rotating in, so I would actually be tempted to play roof here, since you haven't really been poked at from anybody other than the team that was behind you already. So there's not really that much risk yet in going onto the roof, even though it's a more exposed position, because it gives you visibility and information on the other teams. You rotated in here kind of late for this zone, and you got shot at by the other team. So the other teams that are in this zone, they already know where you are. You're not going to give away your position by standing on the roof, so it's just nice to get that little bit of information about where these teams are and then make a plan according, right? And if you do see them coming over the hill from right here, you're probably already too late to punish them for a late rotation. Alright, nice. So you've got this zone locked down, and any good team that sees this should now see if they have a way to punish you. They shouldn't full commit on you, because they will get third party if they do so. But obviously you've got the dominant position in this circle, and so they want to get you out of here. The reason I'm pointing that out is because your Watson wasted her ultimate when she really shouldn't have, and this is the situation where you need to have that Watson ultimate. This is why you pick Watson in ranked. Fine. Have a look. You still haven't scouted the other teams, which kind of makes me nervous at this point, right? They're about to have to push into you. In 45 seconds, they have to push into your building. And you still don't know where 3 out of 4 enemy teams are. Or one or two of them you've heard shoot, but you still don't know exactly where they are and whether they're rotating. That kind of visibility is really, really important right now, so that you can respond to them rotating in. So I really want to see you go for visibility here at some point, since well, one of your teammates is doing it now, but they hadn't done it before either. So here you're actually looking around and seeing if people are rotating in, right? This is nice. This is what I wanted to see you do earlier, and man, your Watson really needs to get an ultimate up. The thing is that if I'm seeing this as an enemy team, if I see this situation, the first thing I do is I try to get an angle on your windows. And the reason I want to get an angle on your windows is not to shoot you at all, but it's to see if you have a Watson ultimate up. And more importantly, if I can shoot the Watson ultimate before a zone closes with 30 or more seconds left. If I can break that, then I can punish you guys out of this house, since you guys are stacked up. If I notice you don't have a Watson ultimate, I'm going to instantly call it out to my team, and I'm going to be like, how many nades do we have? Do we want to commit them here? And if yes, we're going to probably grenade you out of this house as soon as we start rotating, to make sure that you can't punish us for rotating. So this dominant position you have in this next zone is not actually valuable if the enemy teams can prevent you from punishing them for rotating in here, right? So the lack of visibility, the lack of a Watson ult, those things make this a much less powerful position than it could be. The other thing is, you're Pathfinder and you have a zipline, right? Which is awesome. Having a zipline is super, super powerful. It's great. It gets you rotations very easily. But look at the next circle. You don't need any rotations. You're not going to do any rotations anymore. Your rotations have ended. Put a zipline in a house is fun. Well, here's what I was going to say, is you don't need the zipline for a rotation anymore. So then the next question is, what kind of value can you get out of this resource? Especially if you're going to play roof right here, having this zipline somewhere, even if it's a super short zipline. Like let's say it was from this roof to this fence right here. That already gives your team more mobility and more ability to play around, like, right? Especially if you get naded and stuff like that, which is, again, that's pretty likely because you don't have a Watson ultimate. You also still have grenades. Grenades are really, really powerful for punishing these teams if they're trying to rotate in. So look for some grenade value right here, especially this team next to you. You haven't checked if they have a Watson ultimate? Alright, so there's one team stuck behind the rock. They did have a Watson ultimate, right? The guys behind the rock? Pretty sure they did. And something we've talked about a lot as well is ziplines that are very high up. If you put a zipline very high up, like let's say from this lamppost to this roof, then that's a zipline that any enemy cannot get to unless they're a Pathfinder. Pathfinder could grapple up to that, but any other enemy can't reach it, right? So ziplines like that in this situation means that the enemy team can't use it, but you have some ability to play around in case you get grenaded, Gibraltar ultimate or spammed. Gibraltar is becoming more and more common in ranked right now, especially in high tiers, so playing around the fact that you're on the roof and might get Gibby ulted, that kind of stuff is really, really useful. I don't think any of these enemy teams have a Gibraltar, but that's the kind of things I would be looking to do with my zipline right here, since you're not going to rotate with it anyway. And holding on to it till the end of the game doesn't really give you any value, so it's just nice to have. You don't need to stand on the roof here, you've got a head glitch. Let's see, right here, you can just look over this edge. Neither of the two teams are full. I think, yeah, I've seen, I think 2 on either team. We're not entirely sure yet. When you're not entirely sure, you're going to assume they're full teams, but they're probably not. So right here, you've got a head glitch you can work with, right? You can look over this edge and you can shoot them, which also keeps you covered from most of the people on the right side, right? So there's really, really no need for you to go and stand on this roof. Especially as a Pathfinder, you're very, very tall. It's a little bit easier to find head glitches, but it's also a little bit easier to get melted by people with decent aim because of your hitbox, so... Is Apex your favorite game, or is it some kind of COD game? Right now, Apex is my favorite game, yes. It's 3v2v2, I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. At least from what we've been able to tell so far. But I've been bamboozled in ranked quite often, where I only saw 2, but it's because the Watson is playing inside or something like that. They don't always want to give you the information in case you push in. You guys still don't have a Watson ultimate up, right? Oh, you do. Never mind, you do. I was about to say. Be very bad if you didn't. So why are you playing inside now? Why are you going to achieve from inside? Like, here, you take a little bit of damage, right? It's not much. You take a little bit of poke damage, and you decide to heal that. So far, so good. So you drop back down to heal. That's great, right? Then for some reason, here, you decide to drop onto the floor. You guys have high ground. I don't know why you would drop onto the floor. If you want to play inside, if you want to prevent anybody from going inside, then there's no need for you to drop on the floor right here, because you have a balcony on the right side that you could play from. That gives you sightlines. You have grenades that you can use to block the doorways if you do see somebody rotating in. So all you need to do is keep the door from the balcony, keep that one open, keep playing from the roof, and if you see or hear, like I think you did, people trying to get into your house, then you just peek into that door and chuck thermites on the door, and then they can't get into the house. Like, there's no need for you to drop onto the floor and have no visibility over the enemy team right now and not be entirely sure where they are. And now you're not giving any value to your team, and if there's somebody punishable because they're rotating because the ring is closing, then you don't know. This heal is unnecessary. You're about to be full armor because Watson ultimate. This is the value of Watson ultimate. If you're missing less than one shield cell, you can let the Watson ultimate heal that up. His Wraith needs to heal? Yes, she does. I just don't understand why you continually stop scouting and like give up good positions, and just a couple of the moves I'm seeing here, just I can't figure out the logic behind them, right? If you don't have a reason to drop from high ground, don't drop from high ground. Like, you could just be holding this for free. And again, don't be holding out in the open if you have that glitch right there, right? You also don't need to be stacked up with your Wraith. Right, there's 1.5 minutes left. I'm about to say something, and then I see you grab a thermite, and if what's about to happen is about to happen, I'm gonna be very, very sad. Please, please tell me you're not about to throw this thermite, please. Because what I was about to say is, there's 1.5 minutes left for zone. That's a little hard to see because of my cam, but there's 1.5 minutes left for zone. In that 1.5 minutes, this zone is gonna move in, and it's gonna be a clusterfuck of who kills who. This is where a very high zipline up from the roof to this pole or something of the sort is super, super valuable, because it means that you can let the two bottom teams fight while you are zipline jumping above them, and then you can drop with your Peacekeeper at the very last moment and be the third party and obviously get the free kills and win this game with maximum kill points. The other thing is, with 1.5 minutes left, any poke damage you do now is not super consequential if it doesn't get a knock, because people still have time to heal it up. When you're in the last 20 seconds before that zone starts moving, in this last zone, and you will see this in scrims and predator games and pro games as well, that's when poke damage needs to be avoided. That's when you do not peek the enemy team, because that's when you don't have time to heal it up before the zone hits you, and this zone is super, super painful, right? So that's really something you want to avoid. Now, why am I talking about that? And then the thermite. Any damage you do with the thermite right now is negligible. It's not impactful because they're going to have time to heal it up. So when do you want to use that thermite? Well, in the last 10 to 5 seconds, obviously. When this zone is moving in and they have no time to heal up and no time to counter it. You've got 2 thermites. I don't know if you have more grenades than that, but if you waste them now, that would be such a waste of resources. Don't throw it. Please don't throw it. Fuck, you're throwing it. Like, imagine that this starts ticking all 3 of them right now. What are you gonna do? Run in and get third partied? Like, there's no value in this. There's no value. Because they can heal it up, and if you run, you're not gonna run in now because you have the dominant position, so why are you wasting your grenades? Those are so powerful a minute from now. And again, you're completely overexposing when you still have both a little corner of the house in the back here that the Wraith was on, where you could have most of your body covered, and on the right side. They should also mark the last zone spot, yeah. But it's okay. Never thought about all of that? Well, there you go. Right, so these damage sticks right now, right? If she's not a potato, she can heal these up, and then it no longer matters for the final fight, and the final fight's what really matters right now. Most important part is the zipline, but grenades is number 2. Grenades are really, 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 really valuable in late game circles, in predator games, and in scrims. Like, grenades are playmakers, right? Right, 1 minute left. Poke damage now is not super consequential. You can still heal up from your Watson ultimate as well. "41 seconds left. This is where you stop peeking, right? Or at least 10 seconds from now. This is where you stop peeking and stop taking poke damage. Let these guys shoot each other, because zone's about to come in. If you take poke damage now, you won't have time to heal it, and you're gonna lose that last fight. So this is where you just crouch behind cover and look through the glass, right? Also, you still have a little bit of time to grab your Wraith's banner. Now, you might be wondering, why should you grab Wraith's banner? You can't res her, right? If you grab her banner, you can go into her box, and if she has grenades, then you should grab those grenades. Again, they're super, super powerful in the last 20 seconds or 10 seconds of the circle closing. Now, to be fair, that's something you should ask her, right? So you should ask her if she has grenades, and then you can grab them, but that would be super powerful. Also, right now, this is something I somehow didn't notice before because I'm trying to read chat as well. There's a Watson ultimate right here. Break it. That's your priority. You can't get these knocks, but you can break this Watson ultimate. Nice, there you go. No, you went for a knock. Okay, good. You're broken. Okay, so now you could get value out of your grenade. So not only is it last 20 seconds, but now you got a knock in the last 20 seconds, right? So it takes them almost half the time before the zone starts moving to get this res off. So now if you had those thermites and threw them on here, well, they're boned. Which basically eliminates the value of one team out of the two teams that you have to beat. So this is where grenade value really comes in these late game circles. Your Pathfinder, use your zipline for this engage so that you can go straight over and in behind this rock so that you're not potentially in sight line of the enemy that you were, or any other enemies basically, right, that you didn't see. Yeah, because they were here. I was about to say, I thought I bamboozled myself for a second, but they were below when they killed your Wraith, right? So if you run into the open, you have a risk of being shot in your back when you have a zipline available for free that you could use to get to the other side of that rock. And this is what we were talking about earlier. Poke damage when the zone is about, or in this case not poke damage, obviously you full committed, but damage when the zone is about to move. You take a whole bunch of damage here, the zone is about to move, you grapple out to safety, right? And then you can't heal because the zone starts moving. This is why at the last 20 seconds or last 30 seconds you avoid taking any damage, right? Until you're already in the zone. Now that's if you're still on the roof, but I just wanted to point it out, like here you can see what I'm talking about with, if you don't think about that ahead of time, nice, and your teammate clutches up. Alright, you put yourself in the open way too much in the end there. That wasn't necessary coming from a dominant position, being Pathfinder. There was no need for that whatsoever. You also ignored the fact that people were still potentially below the house, right? Because that's where you last saw them. But that's a bit of a waste. Other than that, I mean, you played with your team very well. That's very good. But you guys really need to think about using your resources a bit smarter. The portals from your Wraith were very well used. The Watson ultimates were very poorly used. The Watson fences were very decently placed. Grenades were very poorly used. They should be better used. Your rotations, your middle rotations were a little bit too weak. Now luckily that other team decided not to punish you on it, but that's definitely something that you want to think about. If you're going to be the last team that goes in that rotation, then you want to have a bit of a safer one, right? You don't want to get stuck underneath that bridge when there's only one team. And I hope that was useful. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about your rotations because those are very important in Bread, but you guys never ended up getting punished for them, and you never really ended up running into a gatekeeping team, so it didn't end up coming up that much. But I hope you send in another VOD where we can talk about it a little bit more, because those mid-game rotations are something that you guys should work on as well.
Pathfinder healing. Reloading. On your right, coach.
Purple armor broken. Purple armor dead.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, another
Dead.
one for the factory. Watson, broken.
I killed an enemy.
Watson's behind this, healing.
Yep, good call, good call.
She's phoenixing.
Yeah, not anymore.